This is Jeff Zipkin with Waypoint Technology Group, and welcome to another video tech tip. Today, we're going to discuss the creation of a waypoint file via the import of an ASCII file. A waypoint file is a simple file used to navigate to positions out in the field. If we're provided with these positions in an ASCII format, such as a CSV, we can easily import these through Pathfinder Office and create a waypoint file. Data transfer that file to our data collector running TerraSync for use in the field. We'll be working with this CSV file here. And as you see, we've got a point name, a northing, easting, and elevation for all the positions in the file. We must know what falls in which column. For instance, which one of these is our northing, which is our easting, which is our vertical reference. In this case, we've got our point name, our northing, our easting, our elevation. Okay, we will remember this for later. Also, it is imperative to know the coordinate system, datum, and units that these positions are represented in. Okay, we're going to close this file now and open Pathfinder Office. To access the ASCII import dialog, I'll select File, Waypoints, and ASCII Import. Here, I'm going to browse to our CSV file, which is located right here on our desktop, and select Open. Next, you'll select where you want the waypoint file to reside. You can click Browse here and identify another location if you'd like to move it. Currently, I'm sending this right back to my desktop. Down here, under Import File Format, is where we identify what falls in which column of our ASCII file. As we discussed, we had a point name. In this case, that's going to be represented with a D for description, a northing, an easting, and an elevation, or a Z value. So D, N, E, Z properly represents our data. If your data was in another format, you simply choose the format that suits your data. Next, you identify what separates your fields. In this case, as you see, this is comma delimited, so we'll select comma. Down here, we will identify the import file format. As we discussed, our first column of the file contains a point name, or in this case a D for description, followed by a northing, an easting, and a Z value, or elevation. If your file had your data in a different order, you could simply hit the drop-down and select the order that matched your data. For instance, if your data was northing, easting, elevation, followed by a description, you would select NEZD. Next, we have to identify what separates our columns. In this case, as you see in the preview field up top, this is a comma delimited file. You can have the import utility skip particular rows, or you could have the import utility begin the import at a particular row. For instance, if you had headers in the first row identifying the fields beneath them, you wouldn't want to import that, so you might begin your import at row 2. Next, we need to identify the coordinate system, datum, and units of the data. We will select Change, and in this dialog, select all the geospatial information, our system, our zone, our datum, and our coordinate and altitude units as well. Once you've done so, click OK. And that's the extent of the setup. Once we click OK, the import is going to proceed, and it's completed. I'm going to click OK. And we can now view our waypoints in Pathfinder Office. Next, we want to transfer this waypoint file to our device. And we do so using the data transfer utility. Next, we want to transfer this data file to TerraSync in our data collector. To do so, we will launch the data transfer utility. We will connect to our data collector. We will select the Send option, click Add, and Waypoint. We then browse to the waypoint file, click Open, and click Transfer All. And we've now successfully sent the waypoint file to the data collector. Here on our data collector, we can open the Waypoint file. First thing you need to do is change your geospatial information to match. So click Setup, click Coordinate System, and we're going to set this to match our file. U.S. State Plane, 1983. Our zone is New York East. Our datum is NAD, North American Datum, 1983, CONUS. Our altitude reference is height above ellipsoid. Our altitude units are U.S. survey feet. Our coordinate units are also U.S. survey feet. And the coordinate order is northeast. Click Done. We can now go over to the navigation screen and open the Waypoint file. We'll select the file, click Open, and there's the Waypoint file. You can select any of these for navigation purposes. We can change back to Navigate to be directed to that feature. Additionally, we can see these positions on the map screen. And also here we can identify navigation targets by clicking and holding and clicking Set Target. If you were to return to your navigation screen at this point, you would be directed to that target. And that is how we create a Waypoint file from an ASCII file and transfer it to TerraSync for use in navigation. And that concludes this video tech tip. Thank you very much.